Welcome to Chats with Changemakers, the Northeast podcast for people who want to make the world a better place. Hello and welcome to Chats with Changemakers. I'm your host, Kate Duffy. This series has been generously sponsored by the Social Enterprise Academy, who champion leadership and learning for people driving social change. Be sure to check out the links in the show notes for accredited and non-accredited opportunities in your area. In this episode, Warren Milburn shares the origins and the goals of the Million People Project, which aims to provide technology to those in need, with the ultimate aim of raising 1 million people out of digital poverty and exclusion by 2034. This project has both local and international impact, packing a really big punch for this very small social venture in the Northeast. Let's hear from Warren. Hello, Warren. How you doing?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, busy
Good.
morning, and it's early yet, so we'll see how it goes.
Fab. Well, I'm really interested to talk to you, Warren, because I know we've been trying to catch up for a little while, so I'm really looking forward to learning more about what you do. So let's start off with you as a person, as a human in the room. What is it that you really care about and why?
What do I care about? I've been talking about this morning actually. What I care about is helping other people get through the day to day, I guess. And that sounds like a fairly trivial thing actually, but for some people it's a really important thing. And when you get through the day to day, if you do enough of it, you get through the week to week. And then if you do enough of that, you get through the month to month. And then you get through the year to year. So you're impacting people's lives really on a fairly consistent basis and just helping people get by, because there's a lot of people who go through life not getting by. And it's really important to me to make sure that people aren't disadvantaged, especially by the lack of means to keep up with the pace of technological change, and that's where my project really comes in. So
Perfect. Lovely little segue there. But before we get on to your project and your organisation, I'm going to take you back a little bit there in terms of that real sense of wanting to help people. Where do you think that comes from? Have you always just had that inner feeling that you're wanting to do that, or where?
no, but that's easy. It comes from my mother, who's a very nurturing person and always helping people, always in the service of other people. She's in her 80s and is still doing it, and from a very, very young age, I've always gotten that from my mother. She set up there was no old people's day centre in the village, and she wanted to set one up for the old folks. She was in her sort of middle age at the time, and she wanted to set one up. And so she approached the council and said, "We're going to set up a day centre." And they said, "Well, what do you mean you're going to set up a day centre? You need to have these permissions and these licenses and all kinds of stuff." And she said, "No, forget that. Just we won't involve you anymore." And she went ahead and set up the day centre. And it went for years and years and years. And the council relented in the end and gave us a minibus and all that kind of stuff. And so she's never one to take no for an answer when it comes to setting things up like that, And from that point onwards, it was like, that's a great way to do it. That's a great way to do business.
Yeah, what brilliant inspiration.
Numerous examples I could cite of my mother doing those kinds of things just to get something off the ground, And she's a battler, So
Then tell us a little bit more about your project.
the project is called the Million People Project, and it's in 2020, just as COVID was hitting. I'd been ill and I'd been looking around for things to do, and I thought I'm going to play to my strengths and do something to do with computers and electronics, something to do with helping people as well, put something back into the communities where I grew up, and it kind of just all worked together in my thinking. And that was to provide people with the technology that they needed during COVID to be able to get by during COVID. There were people being sent home from work to work from home, and there were children being sent home from school to be homeschooled without the adequate resources to be able to do it.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, I could get them the resources to be able to do it. And so there were families of like sort of 5 and 6 people, all trying to get by with just one laptop between all of them during COVID, and it just wasn't tenable, and it wasn't gonna last very long if that was the case. So I started ringing around companies to ask them for donations of laptops. And when I told them I wanted laptops, I wanted them to give them to me. At
Hmm.
first, they were like, what do you mean give them to you? And I said, no, when I explained what it was I was going to do, 9 out of 10 of them were only too pleased to help, So it was a case of taking a van around and collecting up as many laptops as we could. And some of them needed work and some of them needed bringing up to spec, but the most of them were quite okay to use, and that's where the project started. I started putting out those laptops into the communities where people needed them. When I heard of people who were struggling, because the benefit system was all starting to get online at that point as well, and that was causing absolute chaos amongst the people who needed to apply for and keep up with their benefits and all that kind of stuff. So there was plenty of demand for it. Actually, that's for sure.
Hmm. It's massive, isn't it? Now, if you haven't got the internet, if you haven't got means of getting on the internet through your phone or tablet or PC, you're massively disadvantaged, aren't you?
Absolutely, and that's digital poverty for you, And I started getting involved in digital poverty projects from that point, really. The Million People Project, and then I did some stuff with Digital Voice and people like that, and that didn't go too well. But the Million People Project was great during COVID, and then kind of tailed off as COVID went away,
Mhm.
But more recently, it had a resurgence, which is something else we can talk about.
Yeah. Okay. So where did the name come from? Why 1 million? Was that the ambition of how many laptops?
How many people? So we wanted to impact 1 million people's lives in some way. So I decided I wanted to call it the Million People Project because we were going to lift 1 million people out of digital poverty and exclusion before the time I retire, which is in 2034, by the way. If anyone wants to wish me happy retirement in 9 years' time, thank you. Um, so, so we haven't got long to do it. A million is a big, it's a big
How many
undertaking.
how many have you done so far?
Well, we've rescued about 14,000 laptops. So you multiply that by 5, and you get to around about the sort of figures up talking about. That was mostly in the early days, and I had a lot of people around me helping me out with this. And then as things tailed off, it's back down to just me. But I've got a new person who's taking on the South Africa end of the project, starting on Monday. So that's going to be cool.
Amazing. And that's another perfect sidestep now to the next part of your organization, isn't it? So it's not just a local impact that we're talking about here. This is pretty big stuff you're talking about. So tell us about South Africa. What you got going on there?
Yeah, well, we've taken the step from the northeast of England into South Africa via Sierra Leone, um, because there are lots of projects like this, like mine, in the UK, doing their thing. There's nothing wrong with helping them out as well, but I figured we could do it. We could just jump a little bit over that and sort of help out other countries who are in desperate need of technology, because if they fall behind, then their economies will fail, and then people will be sunk into poverty, and from poverty they get into awful situations like human trafficking, which was the case in Sierra Leone. We worked in Sierra Leone for a few months, and it was going well, and that was the point of the whole Sierra Leone project, was keeping people out of human trafficking rings. There were people in desperate poverty whose only answer was human trafficking rings. They got involved in them. In that the rings would trick people into taking a job in another country. They'd be trafficked, and then they'd just be sold as modern slaves. Which is desperate situations. So we tried to avoid that by giving people access to technology where they could learn a trade, where they could learn to fix computers, use computers, and teach other people how to use computers. And that would give them a source of income, that would keep them out of poverty and out of the hands of the traffickers. And then South Africa came along when the Sierra Leone project kind of became a bit derailed. Really, it was politics going on that we couldn't really have anything to do with, and it was out of our control. So, unfortunately, that went the journey. But in South Africa, which had already been bumbling along the bottom for a little while, but wasn't really doing much. And then I went to a networking event online at Circle Networks, and I met someone there who was interested in working with NGOs in Africa doing social impact projects, and I thought, this is just a gift, an absolute gift. And so Alexis is coming on Monday to sort out the South Africa end of the project. So hopefully South Africa will be up and running properly within sort of 4 to 6 months, and that will last for years. But after that, it's Ghana and Gambia in 2027. That's what we're looking for now. So we've got contacts there who've been in touch with us and said we need help. So that's where we're going. But South Africa is the focus of it now, as well as the local communities, obviously.
And I'm wondering, what lessons have you learned along the way there? Because that's quite a jump, isn't it, from the Northeast to international work? Is it just the same as you would work in the Northeast, or have you had to adapt? You've mentioned there sort of political landscapes that you've had to adjust things around and then step away from. What lessons have you had?
The other issues that you have are supply chain issues a lot of the time, because getting electronics into another country is very hard to do, and in Africa it's especially hard to do, and there's a lot of corruption as well in some countries. So so you can never be guaranteed that your stuff's going to get there at all. So we relied on people traveling backwards and forwards between the UK and Sierra Leone to take laptops, an extra laptop with them, to get stuff in. And obviously that's not tenable in the longer term when you need to ship volume. So that was going to become an issue at some point. And supply chain will always be like that. It's always going to be one of the bugbears. It's not easy. But I learned really that it's only numbers that you're talking about. If you can ship 1, you can ship 10. If you can ship 10, you can ship 100. If you can ship 100, you can ship 1,000. And they're just another country like us. So if you can do it in the UK, why can't you do it in Sierra Leone? Why can't you do it in South Africa? There is no reason. There is no reason. You just have to think bigger.
Yeah, interesting. And do you have local companies as well in those countries that are donating laptops to sort of save the travel challenges?
Yeah, I mean that was one of the ideas that we had to do, and to also network within continental Africa to find ways to open the supply chains up with courier companies and companies like DHL and FedEx and all those kind of people we were going to be talking to about the Sierra Leone thing, and now we'll be talking to them about the South Africa thing. So yeah.
So tell us a little bit more then about your business model, because I can imagine that there is a lot of moving parts on this in terms of securing the computers, the laptops, tech work, in terms of making sure they're all clean, wiped and ready to be used, the relationship management at the other end. How's all of this funded? Because that sounds like quite a big operation. Have you got a million staff for your million people?
Thankfully, I haven't yet.
Yeah.
It'll be nice when we can do that. But yeah, the way that it works is that we have a kind of a partner in business called Stuart Upson, who designed the website and did the branding for it, and is very much doing it because he's into social impact projects as well. And he also happens to be a top flight designer who's worked with the likes of Papa John's, Pizzas, and all that, those big companies like that, eHarmony, the dating site and stuff. And he worked on all of those projects, and he decided he wanted to work on mine. So I got a lot of expertise for very little outlay. And he did such a good job on it that within a matter of days we were getting offers of laptops to be donated to the project. and people contacting us saying we could really do with some new technology. Can we avail ourselves of your services as well? And so the two were just coming together just straight away, within a matter of days. And so the way that it works is that people donate laptops through the website. They get all the information that they want or could possibly want on there. If they do have any questions, they can get in touch with me. It's simply a case of if they have a laptop spare, it's sitting in a cupboard, gathering dust, doing nothing, and they've had it for ages, and it's just not going to do anything really. So they just have to box it up with some bubble wrap and send it to us, and we take it. The first thing we do is remove the hard drive and wipe it completely using a sort of military-grade wiping software that makes sure that there's absolutely nothing left on the drive that you would possibly want access to. Um, and that process itself takes quite a long time. It takes quite a long time to wipe a laptop, but in the end, you get something that's clean, can go out to anywhere. It's not going to cause any problems. It gets around GDPR problems that you might have had and stuff like that. So anyway, that's what happens. Then it goes into the refurbishment stage where the hard drive's put back into the laptop. It gets everything refreshed if it needs to be refreshed. If it needs more memory, it gets more memory. If it needs a new hard drive or upgrading to an SSD or something like that, it gets that. And in the refurbishment stage, and we do all the stuff, clean it up and replace the battery if it needs, clean it out inside and out, and make sure the vents are okay, and that's going to last as long as possible, because the longer it lasts, the less time it spends in landfill. So that's another part of the project. And then once that's been done, we match it up with whoever's in the list. Whoever we triage the list of people who are after technology and make sure that it gets to the right places, matched with the right people. If it's like an individual laptop that they're after, then it's not usually a problem. But if they want sort of 10 or 15 or 20 to populate a classroom with, that's a little bit trickier, but we can do that. So, and that's kind of the way it works. The laptops are signed over. Everyone gets a certificate to say that the laptop's been wiped and all that kind of stuff, and they can prove what it was, and it's all legal stuff. But yeah, and then the people at the other end, they just take delivery of their laptops, and if they need extra support, they get it. In terms of training, how to use them, how to, some people are so behind the curve, as it were, that they sometimes don't even know how to switch it on or how to start up Windows or whatever it happens to be, and help them with all those things. So we're busy putting together videos for people to watch to show them how to do various things so they can learn on their own. And we're hoping to provide training and support as well, like on a sort of one-to-group basis as well.
Fantastic. And I'm just thinking, because I can imagine the people listening to this will potentially have referrals in mind of people that could really do with laptops. Can people just self-refer on your website, or is there an eligibility criteria that they need to fulfill?
No, not really. When people come to me, we have a conversation about what it is they're going to use the technology for, and if it's a good cause, and and we kind of get on well, and we have the same sort of interests and stuff like that, then people can just self-refer, and we'll take a look at it and put them in the list, somewhere, depending on what it is they want and why they want it and what it's going to be used for and stuff. So if you're going to be saving people from human trafficking rings, for example, and giving them an education and giving them a trade, then obviously that would be quite high up on the list. And then you do get some chancers as well, of course, who just want a free laptop. And that's fine, but they wouldn't necessarily be high up on the list unless there was something they were going to use it for that was really important and they couldn't do it any other way. And we still we do still look after all of the people who, needed to be able to do their benefit claims and other things. You got to keep an eye on your universal credit or whatever, so So yeah, we
Brilliant.
still do all that.
So, Warren, hopefully, we've got a very eager and excited audience now who are all wanting to support you on your mission. So, what is the call to action here? How can we support you reach your million people?
If you know people or you know small businesses that have got laptops that are gathering dust in a storeroom or a cupboard somewhere, they could be kept out of landfill and they could be changing someone's life by just sending it to us. And you can get all the information you could possibly want on the website, which is millionpeopleproject.org.uk.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, Warren. And we'll make sure that we share all of the links with everyone so that they can get in touch with you directly. But yeah, I look forward to getting in touch with you. What year is it that you're wanting to retire? When do we need to touch back base again?
Before
Okay,
we'll see you before then.
I think so. I will think so. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Warren.
Okay, thanks very much, Kate.
As always, some really interesting points from Warren throughout that interview. I think that my main takeaway was his one liner of, you just have to think bigger. And I think that this sums up Warren's approach perfectly to the Million People project. I mean, the clue's in the title. The guy is thinking big. So he expanded the impact initially from digital exclusion, something that came about during COVID, to then actively using the equipment to support people to elevate themselves out of poverty. He also talked about the idea of, well, if you can ship one laptop, you can ship 100, 1,000 laptops. The idea of just constantly reaching more people, thinking bigger, and finding the next opportunity to scale the project. Warren isn't afraid to think big, and I think that's exactly why he will hit this target of 1 million people. When we're working on our own little projects, it's really easy to think small, to keep us in our comfort zones. But I wonder if we took a leaf out of Warren's book and we thought bigger, what would our depth or our reach of impact actually look like? So, if you'd like to connect with Warren, check out the links in the show notes. You can also subscribe to Chats with Changemakers. Please do this as it helps our ratings. And don't forget to join our free Northeast Changemakers community to connect with more brilliant people like Warren. A huge thank you to Social Enterprise Academy for supporting this series and for their ongoing commitment to help people grow the skills and the confidence to create real change. Catch you next time. If you've been inspired by what you've heard today, come and join our free Northeast Changemakers community to meet like-minded people and start your journey to changing the world.